in-depth conversation.
Providing you with exclusive interviews, insights, and news that shapes our world. This is the news where facts matter and voices are heard. I am your news anchor, Zaimer Albansis.
I am Aliyah Nava, bringing you today the latest news. Tonight, we've delved into the world of economics. Not just money matters, but the urgent call for a more stable economic system. With the spotlight, there is one pressing question. Can our economic system survive the crisis of today while securing the needs of tomorrow? To dive deeper in this issue, we have our reporter Lara, who has been following closely this story. Lara, what can you tell us about the sustainable economic system?
Thank you, Aliyah. The world is now facing growing environmental challenges and increasing demands on natural resources. The concept of sustainable development has never been more crucial. As fear of extreme uncertainty and risk help simply explain sustainable economic system, and this can also be known as state society, coined by a German sociologist, Ulrich Beck. This is not just another business cycle setup, it was a serious breakdown that challenged the foundation of modern approach to the creation of welfare. As the financial market stumbles, government opposed and global forces step in, bailing out banks and implementing stimulus measures to stabilize their economies. But the fallout was undeniable. Global unemployment soared, home values plummeted, and trust in financial institutions was shattered. Moreover, the challenges of climate change and the lack of resources and the importance of the development of technologies to keep the economy growing continue to surface. As climate change, pollution, and environmental degradation continue to impact the planet, sustainability has become a top priority for governments, businesses, and individuals worldwide. So why it is important? Simply put, it's about securing a better future for generations yet to come. Without sustainable practices, future generations could face blinding resources, worsening ecosystem, and a compromised quality of life. The big question is, are we doing enough to keep standing? What makes an economy stable? Stay with us for more on this story. I'm Lara Geronimo, and this is CWN.
From deep global recessions to sudden and unpredictable market swings, history has consistently reminded us of how swiftly the economic landscape can change. These developments are often sudden and expensive. It can lead to structural shifts in industries, impact employment trends, and prompt revisions in financial strategies. To help us make sense of these complex trends and what they could mean moving forward, we turn to our correspondent Fiona, who's been closely analyzing the data and development. So Fiona, what can you tell us about the economic stability?
Thank you, Simon. Economic instability has been a persistent challenge, and its impact has been felt worldwide. One of the most significant moments of instability was the 2007 global financial crisis. The collapse of major financial institutions, triggered by high-risk mortgage lending and bursting of housing bubble, led to a severe global recession. Stock markets plummeted, millions lost their jobs, and recovery took years. The International Monetary Fund 2012 defined stability as avoiding large swings in economic activity, high inflation, and excessive volatility in exchange rates and financial markets. What this crisis highlighted is the importance of avoiding excessive economic heights and lows. Unregulated booms often led to bubbles that inevitably burst, as seen in the housing market crash of 2007. Over time, economic policies have shaped modern global capitalism. One major influence was monetarism, championed by Milton Friedman in the 1970s. He argued that controlling inflation meant managing demand and supply, not increasing government spending. While his idea helped curb inflation in the 1980s, they also triggered austerity and cuts to public services in many countries. Another major policy influence is neoliberalism, which gained traction in the 1980s, under leaders such as Ronald Reagan in the US and Margaret Thatcher in the UK. Neoliberalism called for reducing government intervention in markets, privatizing state-owned industries, and encouraging free market capitalism. While it spurred economic growth in many areas, it also contributed to rising inequality and market volatility. These policies have played a major role in shaping the modern global economy. But as we've seen, they also come with risks. Excessive deregulation and the prioritization of market forces over social stability can create long-term instability, as we witnessed during the financial crisis. As the global economy continues to evolve, understanding these dynamics will be crucial in ensuring long-term stability and growth. Stay with us for more in-depth analysis. I am Fiona Philip, and this is CWN.
In news today at CWN, we're taking a closer look at the concept of sustainable development, a critical and intriguing topic that has been at the forefront of global discussions since the 1987 Brundtland Report almost 40 years ago. To dive deeper with this news, we have our reporter Karel to discuss why sustainability is critical for the future and how it's been shaped by key ideas over the years. Karel, can you please tell us more?
Thank you, Aliyah. Sustainable development, as defined by the Brundtland Report, means the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This only emphasizes the need for balance, balancing the demands of today with the needs of tomorrow. The extreme weather events to the depletion of natural resources, the signs are clear. Our planet's health is in jeopardy. One of the earliest warnings about the risk of unchecked resource use comes from the 1968 essay, The Tragedy of the Commons, written by ecologist Garrett Hardin. In his work, Hardin explains that when individuals act in their own self-interest, they deplete shared resources, ultimately leading to the collapse of these resources for everyone. Hardin's metaphor of the commons refers to shared resources like land, water, and air that are overused when individuals act in their own interest, leading to environmental degradation. Hardin's warnings were echoed 2 decades later in The Limits to Growth, a groundbreaking report published by the Club of Rome in 1972. The study used computer models to project future population growth, resource use, and environmental impact. It concluded that if current trends continued unchecked, industrial growth, resource consumption, and global resources would be exhausted, leading to widespread economic and social collapse. The Club of Rome study brought global attention to the issue of resource scarcity, emphasizing that economic growth cannot continue indefinitely in a finite world. It argued for a shift towards sustainable practices, recognizing that the environment's carrying capacity is limited. Governments, businesses, and individuals push for more sustainable practices. We are seeing a shift towards renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and conservation. While the path forward is challenging, these changes are essential to ensuring that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. As the warnings from Hardin and the Club of Rome continue to resonate, the need for a sustainable future becomes even clearer. Protecting our planet is not just an environmental issue, it's an economic and social one as well. We must act now to avoid the irreversible consequences of resource depletion. But to achieve this, our whole idea of economic growth needs to evolve. I am Dana Corel Castro, and this is CWN.
As the world faces mounting environmental challenges and resource constraints, one thing is clear: innovation is no longer optional, it's essential. Today, Hannah will take us through how technological breakthroughs are helping to solve some of the toughest sustainability issues we face, from renewable energy to smarter infrastructure and sustainable agriculture. Hannah, can you tell us about the role of technology in sustainability?
Thank you, Simon. All of the people ask the same thing. What truly drives economic growth in a rapidly changing world? Across the globe, climate change, pollution, and resource depletion continue to threaten our way of life. But thanks to rapid advances in technology, humanity is fighting back. In the 21st century, one of the greatest challenges facing humanity is sustainability. how to meet our needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. But thanks to technological innovation, we're making impressive strides. The story of sustainability is not just modern, it's deeply rooted in economic theory. In the 1950s, economists Robert Solow and Trevor Swan developed what's now known as the Solow-Swan model, a foundational theory in long-term economic growth. This model helped break growth down into three key components: labor, capital, and technological progress. Solow and Swan showed that its technological advancement, new ways of working, producing, and solving problems that fuels long-term growth. In other words, it's not just about having more stuff, it's about doing more with what you have. To add information, in the 1980s, the New Growth Theory took it further. It showed that human capital, education, creativity, and knowledge is not just a byproduct of growth, but a driver of it. In other words, sustainable progress is not just about machines or money, it's about minds, invest in people, and the returns echo for generations. Education, research, and innovation policies are no longer optional. They are essential to sustainable development. And here's the reality economists in our country are grappling with. Markets are not machines, they are wild horses. Long-term stability depends not only on innovation or investment, but on how well a country empowers its people, educates its youth, and nurtures its thinkers. From the Solow-Swan models, focus on technology, to new growth theories call for investing in minds, these framers continue to shape global strategy. As we face climate change, automation, and widening inequality, one thing remains clear. Sustainable growth is not built in factories. I'm Hannah Gabrieles, and this is CWN.
Tonight on CWN, we turn the spotlight to a critical issue shaking the foundations of economies around the world: global economic challenges. From historic collapses to modern-day recovery efforts, the global economy has weathered some turbulent storms, and the road to a more stable future is still under construction. We have our field reporter, Miss Arca, to further explore the details. Arca, can you tell us more about the report?
Thank you, Aliyah. From Wall Street to Southeast Asia, economic rumors have left lasting scars. Let's begin with the Great Depression of 1929, a dark chapter in history that exposed the fragility of unregulated markets. Unemployment soared, banks crumbled, and trust in capitalism was shaken to its core. Fast forward to 1997, and the world witnessed yet another crisis, this time in Asia. Triggered by the collapse of the Thai baht, the Asian financial crisis has swept through emerging economies like wildfire. Currencies collapsed, economies shrunk, and millions fell into poverty almost overnight. And what's the common thread in these events? Many experts say it's more than just economic miscalculation. It's a political error. Poor governance, delayed interventions, and lack of confidence in free markets often magnify the fallout. Over-reliance on market self-regulation, underestimation of risk, and lack of transparency, these are the ingredients of the crisis. And as financial markets grew more complex, the potential for global contagion only increased. But the 21st century brought a wake-up call: the global financial crisis of 2007 to 2008. This time, it wasn't just one country. It was the entire financial system on the brink. Mortgage-backed securities, toxic assets, and over-leveraged banks nearly brought the global economies to its knees. The crisis of the past reminds us stability isn't a guarantee, it's a goal, one that requires smart regulation, responsible leadership, and an economy that works not just for growth, but for people and the planet. And as climate change, inequality, and that mount, the push for a more sustainable economic model is gaining traction. Because sustainability isn't just about the environment anymore, it's about securing the future of our global financial system. And while the global economy continues to recover in the world, one thing is clear: stability and sustainability must go hand in hand. Without thoughtful policies and global cooperation, the next crisis may not just be economic, it could be existential. I am Mariela Arca, and this is CWN.
From rising sea levels to record heat waves and shrinking resources, the warning signs are loud and clear. Today, on CWN Global Watch, we explore how nations around the world are joining forces to face a challenge that knows no borders: sustainability.
That's right, Zaimer. The urgency to protect our planet has evolved from isolated efforts to a worldwide call to action. And the heart of this movement, international cooperation.
The shift didn't happen overnight. Over the past several decades, environmental disasters, scientific reports, and growing civic pressure have turned sustainability from a buzzword into a central global agenda. Citizens are demanding action, and the world is responding.
In 2015, the momentum culminated in a milestone. The United Nations introduced the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 clear objectives aiming to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all. We can say that these goals are ambitious, but they are also measurable and effective. From clean water to climate action, sustainable cities to affordable energy, the SDG serves as a global roadmap, one that calls to action not just from government but also from businesses, NGOs, and individuals.
And that call is being answered. The Paris Agreement marked a turning point with nearly 200 countries pledging to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and limit global warming. Since then, we've seen major collaborations like the EU Green Deal, ASEAN Sustainability Framework, and Africa's Agenda 2063. And it's not just talk. International funding bodies like the World Bank and IMF are channeling billions into sustainable infrastructure. Countries are sharing technology, research, and strategies from solar grids in India to reforestation in South America.
And more than ever, partnerships are key. Governments are teaming up with multinational corporations, universities, and civil society groups to create practical solutions like sustainable farming, circular economies, and climate resilient cities. But challenges remain. Global inequalities, political instability, and economic pressures continue to test our resolve. Experts says long-term success will depend on accountability, transparency, and above all, continued global cooperation. The road to a sustainable future is complex, but with shared goals, bold leadership, and international unity, that future is still within reach.
Sustainability isn't just goal, it is a shared responsibility, one that transcends politics, economics, and geography. And as the world grows more interconnected, so does our faith, and how well we work together. For now, the challenge is clear, but so is the opportunity, and it begins with cooperation.
Sustainability isn't just about saving the environment. It's about building a world where future generations can thrive. So ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to leave behind? Let's work together, live responsibly, and lead with purpose so that the future isn't something we fear, but something that we all look forward to. I am Aliyah Nava.
And I'm Zaimer Albasis, serving you with controversial and in-depth stories 24/7.